2, 3, 4.
Good morning and welcome to the garden show. Kusa Dogwood and I would like to welcome you. Say hi to everybody. We're going to put him down. He seems much more interested in the graham crackers that my husband has over there on the other side of the road than doing TV this morning. So we'll let him go over there. It's been, the weather has been great the last couple of days. I spent Thursday and Friday in the vegetable garden just tidying it up, harvesting a small mountain of eggplant and peppers, different kinds of peppers, bell peppers, corbaci peppers. Yesterday, I made caponata, which, for those of you not familiar with it, is an eggplant, tomato, celery, capers, pinola nuts kind of thing that's cooked in a frying pan for a long period of time till it's pretty much mush. But it's really delicious. It's a family favorite, and you put a little vinegar in there, so it kind of pickles it. And being pickled, it lasts in the fridge for an easy 10 days, and it freezes well too because it's already mushy. So the fact that it's mushy means that it's not going to get any more mushy when you put it in the freezer. So that works well. My daughter was very happy when she came to visit yesterday that I had just finished making it. So that made her happy. So that was good. So there's that going on, of course. And it was, the garden had gotten to be a mess. So it was definitely time. I also brought in a bunch of onions. I haven't started to dig my potatoes yet, but I may do that this week. I did find, surprisingly, growing amongst the remnants of the tomato plants, some ground cherries, which I never actually planted. They came up from seed from last year, which made me very happy. So I harvested a bunch of ground cherries too. I just never got to planting them fresh this year. So that was all good. So I do want to start out with talking about a gardening tool. I promised last week that I would mention this one particular one. But before we get to that, I want to give the phone number. It's 888-399-7344. That's 399 Pegi, Pegi, if that helps you to remember it. Also, I would really appreciate it if, when you're looking at your screen, if you could hit the like and subscribe buttons. I know I hate it when I'm on the line and I hear people saying that. It's just, it does something. It gives us credibility on YouTube, and the more of those that we get, the better exposure we'll be able to have. So if you could do that, that would be great. And also, please don't forget about my website, where I did put a new blog in this week, a new post on my blog. And that is, it started out as Pegi Garden, Pegi Garden, but we got everything uniform to Garden with Pegi. So you can get to the website either way. Pegi Garden or Garden with Pegi. And I do add things, and people can email me there and send me images, which is great if people want to send me images to put on the show so that we can talk about it. So please do that. But let's talk about these tools. Okay. These are weeding tools. These are both Cutco weeding tools, purchased at different times. I bought the garden set more than once, and this is the first one that I got, this weeding tool. And then when I ordered it a second time, they had upgraded to this. And then I was at Mike's. Remember last week we featured Mike's market and nursery and market, and he gave me this one and asked me to give it a try. And I did. And I have to say, I love it. It's great. Now, the whole benefit of this part and this part gives you leverage. Obviously, this one gives you a little more leverage. I thought the prongs on this one are different. and go down deeper to lift something. I thought that was an advantage. They both have good handles. Clearly, this is an advantage over this. You get much more leverage with this one. So, but let me go to the slides and we can talk about this a little bit more. So this is a whole bunch of them. That one on the right, on the far right, I don't believe is a weeding tool at all. I think it's a nail pull, but it was in my tool bucket and I thought it was really interesting that there seems to be a limited number of designs here. So obviously that's not for weeding, but I also found it just kind of fascinating that so many different things have the same shape. So that's them on the side. So you can see that one with the red handle close to the nail pull is the straightest one. And that one's very old. I've had that one a really long time. And I just keep that one in my big tool bucket on wheels. And that's the one that has like rakes in it and my shovel, you know, my my root slayer shovel and other long handled tools that I can drag around the yard. We'll talk about that one day too, that bucket on wheels that makes it easier to move tools around the yard. So I just keep that one in there, and the other ones live in different places, different tool buckets and tool bags. But you can see the comparative difference from going from very straight to very curved. Now, the way it works is you shove this thing into the ground and then you lever it up. And the lever seems to definitely work in terms of getting the roots out and getting the whole root out, which is important. But here was the surprise. This was the surprise using the tool that Mike gave me to try. I also have a brick sidewalk and that I laid when we first came to Tiny Farm. And occasionally I need to move a brick or two that the weeds growing up in between the bricks are just too hard to get. They won't come out. And I try very hard not to use any Roundup on that that is another way of getting rid of the weeds that come up, but I much prefer to do it by hand. So that tool is very, very effective at going down between the bricks and lifting that up. And part of the reason that particular tool was the best at this procedure was that the little prongs at the end are thin. They were thinner than the other ones. And so it was able to slip down between the bricks a little bit better. And then it gave me better leverage for lifting it up. So in addition to it being a good weeding tool, the others are not bad weeding tools, although I can say that I like this one. Definitely gives you more leverage, but this one was awesome for lifting those bricks out, and that can be a real pain. So you lift the bricks out, you pull the weeds out, put the bricks back. It was a surprise that it was so particularly helpful with that. And that looks very similar to my nail pull that I had. Again, has the same shape. I just thought that was kind of interesting. This is an asparagus cutter. I do not see any difference between the asparagus cutter and the weeder from Cutco. It looks exactly the same. But this is a different kind of weeding tool. This comes from Gempler's. Again, I've said Gempler's is a place where I have bought a number of tools, and I do think that they're a good company to deal with. I've never used a weeding sickle, but it looks like it would certainly help get the job done. I'm not so sure that it would be as good at getting the roots out, but it does look like it would be good for, yanking shallow rooted leaves out. This one. Okay, I'm putting in a request. I want this for Christmas. Okay, it's not too early. It's for people to start making their gardening Christmas lists, especially since a lot of places have gardening tools and gardening things going on sale at this time of year. This is called Grandpa's Weeder, the Ultimate Green Weeder. I've never seen this. Maybe other people have, and I'm not exactly 100% sure how it works. I did see a video. That little prongs, I guess is the word for it, that lifts the weeds out. But I'm not sure if that opens and closes. I'm not exactly sure how that works, but you step on it and you shove it into the ground standing upright, and then lean back, and that lever that works as a something to step on to shove it into the ground also works as leverage to pull the weeds out. And then you pull them out and you lift up the tool, and you don't ever have to do a lot of bending when you don't have to do your weeding on your hands and knees, which is great. This is another one. It's not Grandpa's weeder, and this is where I began to question. You see how the prongs are quite open on this one. I would love to see them side by side, or if anyone has ever used these, I would like someone to give me some feedback on them. I think I like the other one better. And I can't even tell you why, because I haven't seen them side by side, but I just like the looks of that one better. And maybe I liked it that it was called Grandpa's. This is an entirely different kind of weeder, and I think it would work. I mean, it's, down on your hands and knees kind of thing, and it's not very expensive, but it does look like it would reach down and really grab the roots and pull them up. So this one's only $7.98, and so it seems like it would work pretty well. I've yet to figure out how this one works. So again, this one's available on Amazon. It's called a Walensee, I think, or Walensee. Not sure how to pronounce it. Now it has that little 3-prong thing on the bottom, and I think that the pusher on the top is what opens and closes it. Again, I've never actually seen it, but this was kind of interesting, and it does look like it would grab the roots and pull it out. Again, if anybody has any experience, but it looked like I would like to see how it works. It looks intriguing enough that I would like to see how it works. So again, if anyone has had experience with this, or this one's on Amazon, so easy enough to find, you can put it on your Christmas list as well. Now, this is a set. This comes from Lee Valley Tools, and this is a set. Those are all different kinds of weeders. That one looks very similar, like it has the curved back on it, that like the one Mike gave me. There's a little sickle, and then there's a long-handled weeder, and then the on your hands and knees kind of weeder. I've never used those loopy weeders. They don't look like they'd be all that great to me, but they're very common, so somebody must like them. So again, if anyone has used any of these, I would really appreciate some feedback. All right, let me go back to the phones. Let me see if I can give you the phone number. It's 888-399-PEGI. That's 7344. And would love to hear from you now. Again, last week we talked about lawn care, and I really don't want to spend a lot of time on lawn care unless somebody has some questions, because lawn care isn't a lot of fun. But I do want to say that it's critical that if you're planning on doing lawn care, that you do it now. You have maybe another month of good time to get seed down. You have longer if you're planning to do sod, but definitely if you're planning to do seed, you want to get it down, sooner rather than later. It's important that you do good preparation, that you get the old grass out, that you incorporate some organic matter, that you add fertilizer. Do not put any kind of weed killer down. You can't put weed killer down and seed at the same time, but any kind of major lawn project that you may want to be doing, I suggest you get started on that as soon as possible. All right, we're going to go to the phones, and let's see, who do we have on there?
No name.
There's no name. So whoever it is, welcome to the Garden Show. What can I do for you?
Hi, Peggy. It's Bob from Piscataway.
Hey, Bob. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I think I'm doing really well. What did you think of those tools?
I have a few of those things. I actually had one very similar to one of the tools that you said you don't think is a garden tool. And I think mine was from when I was taking up tiles in the house, and I was using a heat gun to scrape the tiles up. And I've used that thing for weeds and for anything else, but I don't think it's a weed puller, though.
No, it's just has a weird, the theme seems to be universal, that it's for, the that kind of work, and it's for cutting asparagus, and it's for weeding, and who knows what else. But and now brick pulling.
Yeah.
I was great for lifting bricks.
Brick pulling, there you go.
So
yeah, I have some strange things where it's a conical shape that opens and closes like a hand, and you step on a bar, you push it in the ground over like a dandelion, and then you pull up on a handle, and supposedly it yanks it out. I still can't figure out how to use this thing. It doesn't work for me. I use a shovel instead, but it was like $40 too, at a big box store. So, oh well.
But how about if you come to the plant exchange next year, you bring it, not necessarily to give away, but maybe we could look at it and somebody could figure out how to use it, or at least we could show it.
Idea.
And it would be kind of fun to just see something that we've only seen in pictures and see it live and in person. And maybe we can figure it out, or maybe we can say, this is the stupidest thing that anybody's ever made, and don't ever buy it. Either way, it would be useful to know.
Actually, I bought 2 of them because
great.
The first one didn't seem to work. So I'm going to go out and get a second one. And it's like, what did I do that for? Sorry about a set.
I'm sorry, Bob. That's pretty funny.
One for the right foot, one for the left foot. It is pretty funny.
It is pretty funny. Okay, well, you don't have to bring both of them, but you could bring one so we could see how it doesn't work.
One enough. I have a couple questions. We're going to plant the green giants this weekend, the evergreen trees.
Okay.
In the hole, I was planning on putting some peat moss, compost, and of course the dirt. Is that good enough? Should I not do that?
Okay. Well, here's the thing. You want to dig a really significant hole. You know that your hole has to be way bigger than the existing root ball. What I like to do after I dig out the hole is mix. If you can put a lot of the dirt in a wheelbarrow, that works really well. And then in the wheelbarrow, that's where I add my amendments. Or you can just do it in a pile too. It just makes the ground messier. And it also makes it a little bit harder to put it back into the hole. But what I like to do is mix some of the native soil in with the amendments, so that it's not that much of a dramatic change. And that way you can put some of that mixture. Here's the thing, if the soil that you put around the root ball is way better than the soil outside the hole that you've dug, then the roots are going to want to stay there. They're not going to want to penetrate the.
Oh, okay.
So that's why it's better to use a blend, and that way it's not as much of a shock to the root system when it hits the native soil. It's particularly important when you have, really heavy clay soil, because heavy clay soil, the roots don't like that. So it's better to have like sort of a gradual adjustment for the roots. So that's what I do. And then I put.
Are those 2 good items to add, the peat moss and the compost?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
Do whatever
equal
you
parts
do.
Or just a little bit of it? Equal parts to the dirt, or just
I would
like a shovel
do 1 shovel of dirt to 1 shovel of that mixture, like 50-50. Yeah.
1 to 1.
That's about that's ordinarily what I would do. Yeah. The one thing I want to say, and you probably know this, but I want to make it clear for all the people who are listening and may take this in a direction that's not good, is do not put fertilizer in the hole. You definitely don't want to do that. For all those other people who may think that's a good idea, because actually it sounds like it's a good idea, but it's not. You don't want to fertilize these guys until they've been in the ground for 1 growing season, but you don't want to fertilize them in the fall. So if you plant them now, you will not fertilize them until spring 2025.
Oh, okay. And do I water the hole deeply, or is that not necessary at this time of year?
Oh, well, not
prior to putting the plant in.
I don't do that unless the ground is really dry. You do want to make sure that after you've planted them, that you want to water deeply and thoroughly at that time. And you want to make sure that the root ball is not dry when you put it in the ground. You want to make sure that's really important.
Nancy watered it. Yes. Yeah. Nancy watered yesterday. So,
and because they're green giants, which you'll have to come see mine, because they really shot up this year. There are several places you can now sit in the yard and not see the big ugly building. because of the green
Oh,
giants.
wow.
Yeah, so
Oh,
that's
that's
really
great.
nice. Yeah, so they will grow with gusto. But we are coming into, or are already in, hurricane season, and
Yeah.
that includes a lot of wind. And the green giants have a lot of foliage and will definitely be inclined to catch the wind more than a deciduous tree would. So I'm suggesting that you are really careful with your staking to make sure, because they're going to be to some degree like a ball in a socket. And if we have a lot of wind, they will blow over.
Okay. Okay.
So
They're not that tall though. They're only waist high. Still do that?
oh, I would, yeah, definitely. You don't want them.
Oh, okay.
You don't want them tipping over, or you don't want them tipping over, you know, in a snowstorm.
Right.
You
Right.
know,
Okay.
you
We could do
want to
that.
stake them. I recommend three stakes, or at the minimum 2 stakes, but 3 stakes is better. And the stakes go in at an angle, with the top away from the tree.
Right.
And
Right.
the other important thing is you want to use either a thick rope, or if you use anything like a heavy string or a wire, then you want to feed that through an old piece of hose so that it doesn't cut
Right.
into the tree. And then the last piece is that you want to crisscross it like a figure 8 instead of a circle. So you wrap it around the trunk of the tree, wherever it is that you're putting it, and then you cross it before you tie it on the stake.
Oh, okay. Okay, I got it.
Okay.
Okay.
And the reason for that, and you probably know this, but again, other people are listening that may not be as knowledgeable as you. And that is that helps distribute the weight from just a single point at the back more around the whole shape of the trunk, so that you're less likely to cut into the trunk. Where if it's just a circle and it's pulling in a windstorm, then you run the risk of it cutting into the trunk. So a little bit of a figure 8 helps minimize that a little bit.
Okay. I have another question. We were watching a show this week, and it was saying how wild butterfly weed attracts lanternflies, but it's beneficial because it acts as a poison to the lanternfly. So my son had some of this growing in his yard, and he told us last year he was going to give us some seed pods, and this year he did. And the pods are now opening up and doing their, mystical flying in the wind things, but I have all the seeds. Should I sprinkle them on the ground now, or a little under the surface, or should I wait till the spring to put them down?
Bob, I would need to know a little bit more about this plant before I encourage you to plant it. Could you tell me a little bit more about it?
I can't, because that's all he told me, is that he has wild butterfly weed growing in his yard. He never sent me a picture or anything. I mean, I have butterfly weed that I bought seeds for, the orange tops. They look like a yarrow top almost.
Right,
I
Asclepius.
planted that in many places. Yeah, I planted that many places, and that comes back, and that has a similar seed pod also. But I know that I read that wild butterfly weed can be invasive. So is that what you're getting at, that it may be invasive?
Well, there's just, it's very interesting that you should bring this up, because I came across a wild milkweed this week that I'd never seen before. And it's actually, it's called, and it's in one of my slideshows, so stay tuned. I'll be able to show it to you. It's called black swallowwort, and it's a wild milkweed. So related to what we're talking about here. And it's toxic to monarch butterflies, even though it's a milkweed.
Oh.
So until I knew exactly which one you have, I would be hesitant to recommend it. The Asclepius that you're planting is acceptable, as far as I know, is acceptable. But this other milkweed that is a wild one that is considered even more than invasive. It's the recommendations I got about it was destroy immediately. So since we don't know which one you have, until we know, I will hold back.
Yeah, I'll have to call my son up and find out.
Yeah.
He'll probably know. Yeah, I'll get more information
Well,
on it.
and if you have any pictures of it in bloom, or if he has any pictures of it, or any pictures of the plant, if you could send me pictures, that would be really helpful, because there's so many different kinds of milkweed. There's so many, and they're all, considered. Many are considered useful for the monarch butterflies, but this one that I just came across that's apparently really aggressive is fatal. So you can't tell them without a scorecard, so to speak. We need to know exactly which one you've got.
And I want to put it in an area where it's by where we feed birds. So I want to definitely make sure it's a safe item.
Yeah, this was.
I just made an assumption that they're all safe.
Yeah, and I would have too until I came across this one. So it's really interesting that you're bringing it up right now, because this just appeared in my yard, and so it's a wild one, and I have pictures of the flowers, and so I'll show it to you, and you can check it out.
Cool.
But what I read about the monarchs, which was really kind of unfortunate at best, is that if this kind of milkweed is growing right next to the desirable milkweed, the monarch butterflies will choose. There's something about it that's very appealing to them, and they will choose to lay their eggs on the one that's poisonous to the larva. So really bad stuff, really bad stuff. So, I'm
definitely going to have to get more information, or I just won't plant it and wait till next year until it blooms. He takes pictures, we have information, and I'll get pods together.
Yeah, that's my suggestion. But if you do have milkweed seed, of a desirable milkweed, if you have a lot of it, like if you collected it from something that's desirable, remember, in nature it seeds on its own, so it comes back on its own. So I would think if you threw some of the seed down now, that would be okay, because that's kind of, if it's in an undisturbed area where you're not going to dig up in the spring. But you could probably do it in early spring as well. That's
right.
But I would keep it, just to be on the safe side, I would keep it in a refrigerator, because that's sort of.
We'll hold on to it.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, that's what I would do. Okay. Is there anything else I can do for you?
No, I'm good. Thank you so very much, Peggy.
All right. You have a great day.
You too now. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. We have any more callers? Nope. All right. Well, let me give the phone number. It's 888-399-7344. That's 888-399-PEGI, P-E-G-I. Again, if you could like and subscribe somewhere on the bottom of your screen, that would be great. All right, I've been trying to visit different nurseries and garden centers, and we went to Danny of Metuchen, and I went to Edison Plants and Flowers, which is this little place on Route 27 right next to Sam Ash. Is that it? Yeah, Sam Ash Music. I guess they sell guitars and equipment and something I'm sure my husband's very familiar with, but it's right next door. And we do have a caller. Okay, Anne-Marie, just hang on, because this won't be too long. So let's finish it up. So we went there. Now, I do want to say the place is a little bit ramshackle. It is. But Cindy, the owner, is extremely knowledgeable and has been in business for a very long time. And it was so interesting to talk to her. She knew a lot about the plants that she had. And I have to say that I did find some things I couldn't live without. So there are treasures hidden here and there. And there's also, this is a supervisor of all things that go on. He doesn't even have a name. Apparently he was a stray that moved in, and he's not very friendly, but he's very serious. And so I'm sure that you will come across him if you visit. One of the things that she had in abundance was fruit trees, but really interesting fruit trees. She had several different kinds of Asian pears. If you can see on your screen, the one that's in the middle of all the different colored pears, that's one of those 4-in-1 where you have different kinds of Asian pears grafted onto one tree. So it then becomes self-fruitful and you get different kinds of pears. For a small yard, that works. We have friends, Joe and Liz, who had an apple tree like that in their yard in Queens, and they got apples every year. So that's a good thing. She also had some interesting carnivorous plants, not the kind of thing that you see every day. And bonsai, she had a lot of young bonsai that she started. Again, not something you see in your everyday garden center. So, you have to look around, but they had some real treasures there. I have never seen a kumquat plant, but she had kumquat plants. I don't know much about kumquat plants. I would assume that they're not hardy around here. So you'd have to bring it in, but it was kind of interesting that she had that. And this one was even more interesting. This is called a Thai lime. And this Thai lime produces limes. You can see the picture in the lower right-hand corner. That's the limes that are edible. But this is grown more for the foliage, where the leaves are actually used in preparation of Thai food. So again, I've never seen it. I've never even heard of this before, but she's got them. So I thought that was pretty cool. So again, don't be overly put off by the initial appearance. You have to look around, and she's got these little treasures hidden here and there, and some beautiful orchids. And she also had some really lovely houseplants, really beautiful. And but again, the place is small, and she had some great succulents as well in addition to that. So these are the 3 plants that I had to have. It's a peperomia in the back, a different kind of haworthia on the left, and an echeveria on the front right. That's very fuzzy. I've never seen a fuzzy echeveria. I've never seen that peperomia either. So these are the 3 that made it home that I could not resist. So again, it's an interesting place, been there a very long time. You go, you have to look around, be open-minded, and you might just find something that you've never seen before. All right, let's go to the phones, and we're going to have a little chat with Anne Marie, who's calling us from Milltown, and she's just back from a pretty cool vacation. So Anne Marie, how you doing?
Good morning. I'm good. We're both good.
Good,
So,
good. You had a good trip?
We're happy to go, and now we're happy because we're home.
There's no place like home. There's no place like home, for sure. Absolutely.
But there's a lot of wash when you get home.
Oh yeah, well there is that. That's true. People that come and stay at my beach house, they often do their laundry before they leave, and that's true. And it's very. I think that adds to the vacation, because you can do it as put on a load, go to the beach, come back, and it's done. So yeah, so that I can understand that, doing laundry when you come back. How'd the plants survive?
Pretty well. I had to have change of daughters who were watering because one had to travel for business, and then I heard it was very hot here, and it was this and it was that and the other thing. But everybody's still green, so that's good. And it's the end of the season for so many annuals that it's okay. I wouldn't be happy to leave them in June, but I'm happy to leave them in September.
Well, I took some cuttings from one of my streptocarpuses, and it's rooted nicely. So I'm planning on potting that up this week. So
I have volumes of that. My 12 plants could make another 12 plants, maybe more. I don't know what to do. I hate to just cut it off and toss it. So if anybody calls and is looking for that, I know where you can pick some up.
Well, maybe you could do like a hanging basket and put a whole bunch in one pot. What do you think?
I know, but I don't have a greenhouse, remember? When I bring them in, they have a window and they need to sit. They can't hang. And besides, I've got enough in pots that I'm willing to keep. I'm just willing to share if anybody in my immediate area knows where I live.
Okay,
by.
well, I'm just going to put this out there. You could do a hanging basket and then give it away, because it actually makes a really good house plant as a flowering house plant. There's not a lot of house plants that flower consistently like this one does. So you could even give it as a gift. You could give it as, when you go to somebody's house for dinner, you could bring it in bloom. It would be really nice if you potted it up now.
And how will I that it will bloom on the scheduled date of the invite? You are really a magician.
Well, a lot of times they bloom when they're in a glass of water. They bloom on their own in a glass of water. So if you put enough of them in a pot, I'd be willing to bet that something would bloom. that one of the cuttings would bloom.
Well, I will give that a whirl.
Give
But
that a
what
whirl.
I really called to was we met so many interesting people. For those that don't know me, we were on a Viking Ocean cruise, and there are people from all over, not only the continental United States, there were Canadians, and the first people we met were from Australia.
Oh, wow, cool.
This is not where the message comes from. This is from somebody west of the Mississippi, talked about their tomato plants, and they have been trying to grow a tomato since they moved there 20 years ago. They never have any luck. Someone told them, just get a can of sardines, dig your hole, stick a sardine in there, stick your tomato plant in. They have tomatoes coming out of every stem that's on the plant, apparently. Big, huge, beautiful red tomatoes. So do you know anything about giving your tomato plant a sardine? No laughing out loud.
No, I usually, serve my sardines on a bagel with some, cream cheese myself. But obviously, there's a lot of nutrients. Let's go back to the American Indians. They used to,
that's exactly what I said to them. I said, "Oh, you're talking like when the Indians showed the settlers how to grow anything." Okay.
Yeah, they would put.
So go ahead, tell us.
Yeah, well, you put fish. They would use the fish heads, and you put the fish heads in so that you don't waste the whole fish. But you could put the fish heads in, and they would, as they decompose, they were full of nutrients. And so it would act as a kind of fertilizer. I don't know exactly what fish are particularly rich in, but it may have been that they were particularly rich in something that their soil was lacking. I would have been curious to know if they ever had a soil test prior to this, and then if they had a soil test after to see if maybe it was like phosphorus or potassium or something that was missing that's now being supplied. But I
just think these people buy a market pack and plant it and hope to grow tomatoes.
Yeah,
I didn't think they were gardeners. I will tell you though, we did give your PeggyGarden.com numbers to many people. So maybe you'll pick up some listeners on your YouTube from other parts of the country.
That would be amazing. So thank you. But yeah, that's definitely a kind of natural fertilizer, and it must have supplied whatever they were missing. And in addition to that, it might have just been a better year for tomatoes.
Well, that's always true.
That's always true. Some years are just better than others, or they may have used a better variety this year than they've used in the past. Next year, I'm definitely going to try. I have been so consistent in using heirloom varieties and unusual varieties, but next year I'm going to go with at least one modern hybrid tomato, because they just bear so much more. You get so much more from them, and sometimes I just want more tomatoes. I would say the ones that did the best this year were the mushroom baskets, which did well last year, so I'll probably grow them again. And the Jersey Devil, which did really well last year, which I will probably grow them again next year. So, but all the other fancy heirlooms that I grow, you just don't seem to be spectacular. And so next year I'm going to add something, some sort of modern hybrid that will produce, or maybe even a commercial variety that is going to give you a significant number of tomatoes. Because I was a little disappointed in the yield, but the mushroom basket are so beautiful. I will definitely grow them again.
Well, as a Rutgers grad, you really should be supportive of all the Rutgers tomatoes.
Yeah, and those are good ones. Those are good ones. If I could get Ramapos, I mean, that's a Rutgers hybrid that's spectacular, but they're really kind of hard to come by. I know that Rutgers was making them and releasing them again, but it's a hybrid and they're expensive to produce because you have to actually grow two different crops of different kinds of tomatoes so that they cross-pollinate, and then that's how you get the seed, and that's why the hybrid seeds are so expensive. But if I can find Ramapos, I will definitely grow them because they were spectacular.
Okay, all sounds good. So
everything good with you?
We are good. Your quote, Uncle Art, is doing well.
Good. Give him a hug.
Okie doke, we can do that.
Will you be coming down and visiting soon? I've made some serious progress on my chess set. I've got one queen done.
Did.
Yeah, the bishops are done. And one queen.
Well, remembering that your Uncle Art needs a hip replacement.
I do remember that. I'm not sure when that's happening though. When is that happening?
The beginning of October.
Oh, well,
So
then you better.
we probably, I don't think we will. We're too many doctor appointments, lab appointments, and et cetera between now and
Well,
the due
hopefully you'll
date.
find some time to come down and have lunch. Let me know.
Okay, well, we'll see what we can do about that.
Okay. Well, you have a great day, and
Okay.
I will talk to you soon.
Great voice. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye now. All right. So let me give the phone number again. It's 888-399-7344. And okay. Oh, let's do the bistro set, please. This is something I worked on, and I did show it to you once before, but I have now completely finished it. So I wanted to share this with you. A friend of mine, Kathy, who used to own a gift shop of some kind, had these sets, these bistro sets, and had them. She closed the shop years ago and had them in storage. And when she decided she didn't want to keep the storage unit anymore, she was getting rid of everything and asked me if we wanted a bistro set. And she had multiple ones, and she gave us two sets, one set for me and one set for Jordan. And the tiles on them were in varying degrees of decomposing. Some of them were great, but this one chair was in really bad shape. And so when I tried to remove the mastic from behind, they all started to fall out. So I did the whole thing from scratch. And this is me. We had to substitute. It's not an exact match. The shades of green and blue are off slightly. And I didn't have any flat tiles to break up for like the mosaic in the center. But so we used these round ones. And I think it came out pretty good. It was a small space. It was hard to work in, but we managed. It came out pretty good. And at this point in this picture, it still needed to be grouted, but we did grout it. And you can see in this picture, the comparison, the other chair still needs a little work, and the colors are slightly off, but it looks very similar. And we added the ladybugs, which were not part of the original design, but we just felt like throwing some ladybugs in. And the tables were in much better shape. So after I got them grouted and all cleaned up, this is what I did. I taped, used some paper and some painter's tape, and covered the backs of the chairs that I was keeping. One set, Jordan took one set home, and she's keeping hers black. But it was a bit of an effort to spray paint it. There's so many nooks and crannies, and luckily the cans of spray paint, I bought industrial spray paint, and you can hold the cans upside down and they still spray. It makes a huge difference when you're working on a project like this. But that was the finished set, and I like it white so much better since all the furniture on my front porch where it's going to live is white. And so I'm very happy with it. It was turned out to be a bigger project than I expected, but I'm absolutely thrilled with the results. I think it looks really good. And you can sit there and look out on the blueberry garden, or you can look out over the end of the porch over to the Garden of Ancient Ruins. It's a really nice place to sit and have a little snack. So, or have lunch out there. It's always in the shade because it faces north. So it's a nice spot in the summer. So the table and chairs that I had there was a cheap plastic table and two of those metal folding chairs, and they were really fading and looked awful. So that's the one I decided to replace. But I'm very, very happy with the results. I think it came out pretty good. Okay. So let's go back to the phones, and I'll give the number again. It's 888-399-7344. And that's the background of this picture is my greenhouse, and it has since been painted purple to match the house. As lovely as the natural wood is, the varathane on it was not holding up to the rain, and so we decided that paint would keep it intact longer better. So it's now purple. But I want to point out the windows. See the windows? I have an interesting story about those windows. I have a lovely pattern on them, and it doesn't really block a lot of the light, but it's facing due south. So blocking a little bit of the light is okay. And of course, there's the roof as well that lets light in. So it's a very, very sunny greenhouse. Those windows came from the Trump Taj Mahal Casino many years ago when I was attending the Vegetable Growers Convention, which I attended every year for many, many years, 15 or 20 years at least. And one year they were redoing the Baccarat room, which any of you know anything about Baccarat. I've never played it. I know very little about it, but I know it's high stakes kind of gambling. And it's a special room. You have to go in this special room. And they were redoing the Baccarat room. It was kind of sealed off. That's when they do the Vegetable Growers Convention is in January, and that's when they do a lot of the renovations each year to keep the hotel, up to snuff. So they were redoing the Baccarat room, and it was just a mess. We had to walk all the way around it, and it was all taped off. You couldn't go anywhere near it. But as I was leaving, they were taking these window panels, and it was like a trail of ants, but it was humans, and they were all a whole trail of people, and they were carrying these windows and heaving them into the dumpster. And I thought they were beautiful. They're double panes. They're very heavy, and the design is painted between the two panes of glass, so it's very protected. And it was used to create a low wall all the way around the Baccarat room, which was being removed. So I got the guys, instead of heaving them into the dumpster, to put them in the back of my car. And I think I got 17 of them. And I had them for many years because I wanted to use them to build a greenhouse, but we never got to building a greenhouse at Blooming Acres. And then Blooming Acres burned down. And these survived. They were under the stairs in a closet. They were flooded because there was so much water in the basement from trying to contain the fire. And pretty much everything in the basement that was on the ground was destroyed, except these, because, they're impervious to water. So a few cracked. So I lost a few. But when we brought them here, my contractor, Big Ed, was able to construct the greenhouse out of these fabulous windows. There's no way we could have afforded to buy anything so elegant. But we reused them, and they add just a lovely touch of elegance to the greenhouse that we would not have had otherwise. So there you go. So they were from a gift from Donald Trump. So for better or worse. All right. So let me give the phone number again. It's 888-399-7344. Let's go to things in the garden. Okay. How many years have I talked about my Tibocina? I mean, I bought it at Barty Farms 5, 6, I don't know. I had it at the other house. So probably 10 years ago now, maybe, that I made a trip up to Barty Farms, and they had this Tibocina, and look at the color of that thing. It is just so beautiful, and it is finally blooming. It's taking a really long time to bloom, but it's finally blooming. I did cut it way back in the spring. It had gotten really leggy. It grew all winter. It did not die. It did not lose all its leaves, but it was so leggy and stretched out. So I cut it way back, fertilized it, put it outside, and it's nice and full and beautiful now, and it's finally starting to bloom. And that's the pot. It's in the Zen garden. So if you sit in the Zen garden, or you want to play in the sand with a rake, the Tibocina is there to keep you company. So it's, as you can see, it looks really healthy, but the purple, the color purple, is just absolutely my favorite color. Absolutely. It's so beautiful. This is another purple plant, and another plant that took a really long time to bloom this year. This is the Mexican petunia, an interesting plant, Ruelia simplex. It is native to Mexico, and in its native environment, or down in the south, it's considered invasive. It'll spread like crazy and get really large. Those of you that may have it, you may want to consider in the not too distant future, maybe early October, you may want to start taking cuttings. They root very easily. They're hard to locate locally, but around here, they're not invasive because they don't survive our winters at all. So they actually make better annual plants than perennial plants, because where they're perennial and they survive, they tend to become problematic. But they root really, really easily in water, and they make another very pretty purple flower. And that's the close-up of the flowers, which a beautiful shade of purple, not quite as rich as my Tibouchina, which, but still very pretty. And the plants are healthy. They just took forever to bloom. And another plant that has taken forever to bloom is my popcorn plant, the one that smells like buttered popcorn. That bloomed, that's blooming, about to bloom now. It has flower, it has buds on it. It's covered in buds. But it's the middle of September already. I don't know what's taking so long for it to bloom. Last year, it bloomed, much earlier. I don't know what the difference is. I can only think that the heat in July kept it from growing and maturing. That's the only thing I can think of. This is not my garden, but I had to share it. It's just so beautiful. This is a house in Ocean Grove where they plant these fabulous mandevilla vines and in pots, and it completely covers the porch. I think there's a lot of reasons for this other than the beauty. One is it's very, very busy in that part of town, people walking back and forth, and it gives the porch some privacy. And I think, I think that's really desirable. There's also there's a downstairs apartment. There's not just the porch that you can see. There's steps going down, and so it's sort of it's not a porch. I don't even know what you would call it, but there you can sit, several steps down, and you would be, able to look out at people's knees. So I think this it not only is absolutely gorgeous, but it's privacy for both levels, the lower level and the first floor level. So, but stunning and really, really well maintained. This is, I took a picture of this when it was in bloom. This is a basswood tree, and a basswood tree doesn't make really very dramatic flowers. It makes very small flowers. But the thing that I like about it is that those are the things that you're looking at right now are called bracts, and they hang on. They're modified leaves. They're not a flower. You can see, if you look really closely, you can see little kind of small round brown balls. Those are the fruits. Not really very dramatic. The most dramatic thing about it are these bracts. It's a great American tree. This is called Tilia americana, and it's called the basswood. It's called the American linden. There's also a European Tilia europea. And in England, the Tilia species that they plant there are called lime trees. And I don't know, I'm a big fan of Jane Austen. I've read all of her books many, many times. And they are mentioned more than once that they have lime trees. And the scene that I remember that really sticks out is from Pride and Prejudice, the Keira Knightley version, although there's many versions that are wonderful. And the creepy minister that is featured in the story, he talks about wanting to plant a lime walk. So it would be a place, a row of trees, of these trees. And I always wondered what kind of lime trees grow in England. And now we know it's not a real lime. It's not a citrus lime. It's the European version of the basswood. Okay, this is that weed that we were talking about. This is the black swallowwort. And you can see the pods look very similar to milkweed pods that we know and love. And I don't know where it came from. Obviously it flew in or blew in, and we were pulling it out. We were cleaning up this area, and we just came upon it. So let's just put a hold on this for now, and we'll get back to it in a minute. And we have a caller. Let's go to the phones.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you, my son?
I'm all right. How are you?
We're good. We're good. So what's happening at Katona Farms these days?
Well, we're shut down for a couple weeks because we need a lot of time to get our ducks in a row and get ready for Pumpkin Fest. I think we're heading into, is this our fourth or fifth year? I forget. Probably our fourth year, right?
It's been a few years. I've lost track. Okay.
Yeah, maybe our fourth year because you helped us during COVID.
Okay. I need a pumpkin. Okay. I saw this thing that I have to try, and I need a pumpkin. I saw this thing where you make some slight indentations on the face of the pumpkin that sort of look like a pumpkin face, but you don't really carve it out. You just like stab it a few times with a sharp blade. And then you put it in the chicken coop. And because it's been pierced and the chickens can get to the flesh, they will carve the pumpkin for you. I've seen it. It's hysterical.
So you started.
So I need a pumpkin so that I can try this. Can you get me a pumpkin?
All right. You know what I would do? I would take that little drill I got you, and I would put a drill bit in there and actually drill the holes.
Yeah, I could drill a few holes. That would do it, and that would definitely work instead of just stabbing it. That would be easier, actually.
Even like a maybe the diameter pencil, 1/8 inch bit, or maybe even a little more. And just put some holes in there, and then the scent of it, and it'll aerate. But then they can eat it from the outside in. It'll be kind of like a slow feed for them.
Well, apparently you can't leave it out there too long. You have to keep an eye on it because they go berserk. So anyway, I want to try it. I thought that would be fun. So you just mentioned pumpkins, and so that came to mind. So I think I want to do that. I think it would be fun. We could do it before and after and take pictures and show the chickens and all that. So am I going to see you? You'll bring me a pumpkin? Will I see you soon? That'd be fun.
At some point, yes.
Okay, good.
I will get a pumpkin to you.
So when are you starting the pumpkin picking and the hay rides? When are you going to start that? That should be soon, right?
We will start September 30th and then October 1st, and then we're open every weekend through October. We will have hay rides for the pumpkin patch. This year was a tough year getting stuff planted. Farmers across the state will tell you it was a great year to grow weeds. Weeds did phenomenal. It was a little tricky for everything else, but I digress. We made it through the season. We should start with all that. We do not have a corn maze, but we have a nice leisurely hay ride on the tractor through the hay fields out to the back of the property where you will see the asparagus fields in fern. So you can learn a little bit about that as you're taking a ride. And then we have probably, 1,000 to 2,000 different types of, or different sizes of pumpkins in the field, about 6 or 7 varieties of pumpkins out in the field, all varying from small to large to cooking to decorative to warty pumpkins.
Oh, I want a warty pumpkin.
I mean, we've just got a vast, yes, or pumpkins. We've got a vast variety of everything. We offer group pricing. I spent the week on the phone with different programs. We have a charter school coming with 100 people, moms and dads, and then we have the Girl Scouts returning in droves of 50 to 60. So that'll be fun. We'll have some pretty busy days, and I've gotten a few phone calls already about large parties because families have started with us, and now they make a tradition of coming and bringing the whole family for Pumpkin Fest over at Katona's.
Okay. Well, email me some pictures and we'll get them on next week because it'll be a really good time to be able to show you because next week we'll show everybody because the following week is the week that you'll be open. So that works out really well. So get me some good pictures from last year and get me a pumpkin so that I can try this thing and a peanut pumpkin and a warty pumpkin just for fun, just because I like them.
Yes, I will. I saved all the pictures. I just have to get them in an email off my tablet and send that to an email to you, and then I should have that done in the next day or so. It's a lot of running around today and tomorrow, but I'll get that done. And I actually had a pruning question. I know it's kind of a little early, but we are heading into fall, and I had the time to get a lot of my fall pruning done. I have a gorgeous weeping cherry in the front of my house. Unfortunately, I am not the one who planted it there. I would have planted it in the backyard as a center focal point and a nice area for the dogs to, lounge under during those warmer days. I am in such a quandary because do I trim some of these branches off so I can get the lawnmower under there easily, or do I just keep swallowing weeping cherry blossoms when I cut the grass?
Well, okay. The thing about pruning a weeping cherry is if you prune it now, you are removing the flowers. But if you have some time to do some selective pruning, you can do that and reduce the annoyance of having to go under the branches without removing all the flowers. So if you can take some of the longest branches, the ones that are the most annoying, and cut them back to a joint here or there, but leave the length on the other ones, then you'll leave the flowers. and you'll just remove the ones that are annoying.
Okay.
You can't just go through with
Yes.
and a kind of a hedge pruner and cut it straight across. You will remove most of the flowers by doing that, and it will look awful. I think those cherry trees and weeping trees that are cut straight across like that look really freaky. So
Horrible.
yeah, I hate that look.
Horrible.
So, but you
The
can.
whole point is
So you can go in and do the selective pruning, and as long as you leave some of the or most of the branches intact with this year's growth on them, you'll still have a nice display next year. But you can sort of have like a little compromise, and then do it again if you have the time after it blooms next year. You can do it more severely. But this year, just at this point, just take off the ones that are going to make you want to say bad words.
So do it after it blooms next year. The
Yes.
thing is, what do you mean selective? Like kind of from you kind of mean like an interior pruning, or where a branch may meet the crotch of another branch?
Yes,
That type
you
of deal?
grab the longest branch and take it and follow it up to a joint, and it'll be, you make it much
Okay.
shorter, but you will leave any side branches on that intact. And do that. Just keep walking around, grab the
Yes.
longest branch, follow it up, and cut it off. Take another step, take the longest branch, follow it up, and cut it off, and then you should be okay.
Okay.
All right.
I mean, it's just so beautiful. It's so beautiful, and I don't want to lose it. And when our boarders and people come into the farm to visit their pets, and when I pull in, it's just so beautiful to look at it in full bloom. I just don't want it so thin, but I do want to be able to not have such a hard time with a weed whacker or the push mower in the front yard.
But that'll help. That'll definitely help. So you can take off a significant number of the longest branches right now, and then prune it again in the spring after it blooms. You'll be good.
All right. Excellent. Thank you
Okay,
so
honey.
much.
All right. Thanks for checking in. Send me those pictures, and we'll talk again soon. Okay.
Absolutely. Congratulations on the new show, and I'll talk to you this week.
Okay. Thanks, hon. All right. Bye-bye. All right. Let's just
Bye-bye.
finish up those slides real quick. So we're talking about this black swallowwort. So let's go back to that picture, and then that's it. Those are the pods. Let's go to the next picture, please. These are the flowers. They are black like flowers. I guess that's how it got its name, black swallowwort. Okay, I want to read these quickly. It is in the milkweed family. It's native to Europe, but it was actually brought over and cultivated. I'm not sure why. First time was cultivated in Essex County, Massachusetts, around the mid 1800s. Has another name, sometimes called dog strangle vine. Right off the bat, that would make me not want to grow it. It's toxic to monarch larvae, and it's considered dangerously invasive and should be destroyed, which I think is really interesting. It's the first time I've seen it. Apparently, somehow it's really invasive in the Midwest. And that's where I got a lot of this information from, like the Extension Service of, I think it was Minnesota. So. And is that my last slide? Okay, well, then that wraps things up. So keep your eyes out for this particular weed, because it's, I'm just seeing the pods now. I saw them this week, so you may see them. But again, apparently not all milkweeds are created equal. So you want to make sure that if you are planting them, you're planting the good ones. So that wraps things up for today. I will be here next week. Same time, same place. Please remember to check out the blog at gardenwithpeggy.com. Please remember to check off like and subscribe if you can, and to share this with other people that might be interested. And I'll be here next week, same time, same place. So until then, have a good one.